Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I have the great and wonderful Sai with me.
Hello, I am the great and wonderful Sai, and I'm here with Lucid.
Yep. So, Sai, what happened last episode?
Well, the big news was that we finally saw Erytheia smash Atlantis' army.
Y-
So Erytheia is, as you can see on the little battle report thing there, moving on to Atlantis' capital. Arco had successfully repelled Ulm's counter raiding and is once again presumably amassing on Ulm's cap, but also has a stack set up to fight Jomin, who is otherwise uninvolved, and it looks like Arco is actually raiding into Jomin's lake right there.
Oh,
TNG is just kind of cleaning up the Midgard territory that Agartha can't get into. And then we heard from player messages that Utgard and Marignon are not, in fact, cooperating closely against Agartha, and instead, we saw Utgard pull back, leaving Agartha free to defend their territory from a solo small Marignon advance, and possibly even fight back against Midgard now.
well, Pythium is probably also going to be joining, so we'll see how they manage their way out of this. But yeah, that's a great summary. So we'll start with the message from Mom Chichello here. May have to shut down this Twitter feed, sadly, folks. No cojones amongst the neighbors to do anything. Just very passive play. So no repercussions and heading to the beach for Memorial Day. Never say never, guys.
Yeah, I think it's more that none of Arco's neighbors were actually free.
Yeah. Because Arco did piss off all his neighbors, but or not all of them. He had a couple buddies there. But that kind of gets back to the premise of this war. Alm was thinking like, hey, this guy's angered a bunch of his neighbors. Let's go start a fight. And then nobody really wanted to actually help him. So, message from Micklin. And so we die. Indeed. A message from TNG. Well, that throne battle was a bit stressful to watch. Our center squad of heavy cav were scripted to hold an attack, but because the swarm bugs made contact with them while they were still in the hold phase, they reverted to just shooting. I really need to be more careful with managing my supply of infantry. The plus side is that while we lost more stuff than projected, including 3 priests, ancestor vessel losses were minimal, and the Scales troops are entirely disposable in our national plan. I had been hoping for the Golden Throne because we're pretty close to done site searching in our empire and have found no astral indies yet. But one can never complain about getting the Throne of Water when sacreds are an important part of your strategy. So until now, I've been trying to secure the Midgard land on behalf of Agartha, since I'd been imagining he'd recover and be a useful long-term ally. The Agarthan Midgard land I'd raided in recent turns was explicitly discussed with Agartha. At this point, though, I'm giving up the idea of Agartha recovering enough that it would make sense for me to try to give them some portion of the Midgard spoils. They won't be able to defend it, and thus doing so seems likely to lead to Vedheim vulturing it further in a few turns. Even if I wanted to give its income to Agartha, it's not been site searched at all, and he's in no position to correct that. I'm guessing I might be the largest nation by income and provinces right now, but my current opinion of the game state at this point is that both Erytheia and Vedheim are in stronger positions than I am. Erytheia is soon to be a 2-cap nation with control of 20 commander points of forts able to produce ducados. Vedheim is fairly large, borders a weak Utgard, and has all the magic access they need from the Adept thrones. At least other nations being scarier might help protect me from becoming a coalition target. But my main problem is that I've site searched about 2/3 of my land for my 6 national paths, and while my total gym income was okay, my most important gym income remains abysmal. So I'm very reliant on trade to get the gems I need.
So I actually completely agree with TNG that I think that he's in a great position by income and provinces. He's definitely made a point to do the site searching. But I also agree that both Erytheia and Vedheim appear to be stronger in spite of the fact that Erytheia is still working on getting their first additional cap, and Vedheim isn't even working on theirs. They're just at a decent size, but more importantly, Vedheim has both the magic diversity from thrones and the infrastructure in order to scale better while also playing a better scaling nation.
Right.
Erythea, along the same lines, better scaling on their nation, vastly better research, and better research progression just due to their much
Right.
superior infrastructure. So one thing that I'm not seeing TNG saying here is Therefore, I need to build more forts. So hopefully we do still see some stuff going up, and I do expect them to catch up at least to some extent. But the infantry that I think they were buying last turn is definitely going to be slowing them down a little bit from research or from hitting that timing or those timings where they, get all their forts up and hit evocation 6 and their other good research points and are actually able to take advantage of their bless and start using their thugs, which their bless was designed for.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good summary. I agree with them as well. I'm checking here for forts. So far, I only see one, which is going up on this throne. So otherwise, we don't see more forts. But he may be doing... No. See if we have fort upgrades. He may be turning some of these forts into citadels, which is another way to upgrade his research power. So,
yeah, everything helps. I just think that from TNG's current position, infrastructure should be their primary focus.
yeah.
Because they had a good game plan of we're going to invest heavily in troops, we're going to win our first war cleanly, we're going to get ahead from our conquests here, and then we're going to research up. But in order to research up, you have to be able to build those mages.
Yeah.
That said, I actually do think that TNG is in a very good position, and because their war with Midgard is essentially wrapping up, right? Like, they're basically just taking the low-hanging fruit at this point, they should be pretty much free to go fight whoever they want to fight next.
Yep. It's not a bad position to be in. No indication of who that is yet. The other important thing is, he's revealing that, which is kind of weird. Like, none of this is playing out like I thought it would. He's revealing that he doesn't think Agartha is actually going to be a good steward of his lands anymore. And is saying he's kind of thinking he's not going to give it back to them. But at the same time, we see Utgard hidey hold up here. It looks like he's gone back to researching. Let's confirm that. Yeah, okay.
Yep, there's the spike.
There's the spike.
But Utgard should be killing Agartha.
Right.
Like, it's not too late, man.
It's not too late. But yeah, Agartha, whose destruction looked imminent, the position looks playable now. It doesn't look good. It's a 2-fort Agartha. But he has decent gym income. He's found a few sites. Okay, not actually that decent. I thought it was better than it was, but yeah.
His position is viable, but not enviable.
No, it's one of the hardest nations to play in the game, especially against really good players. And he's now in a really rough position to play them. So we'll have to see. We can't see him moving a big army over here. I guess he's trying to catch this van force that's running around causing him all sorts of pain. Yep, so I think that's it. It'll be interesting to see what Utgard does.
We see Pythium stuff on his border now as well.
Right.
Like, Pythium had seen that Atlantis has been essentially defanged. He is now on Atlantis' cap, and that freed up all of those units which essentially had been running around just in order to hold on to what he'd already taken. Those are now free in order to actually go invade Agartha proper.
Right. Let's take a look at his research.
Yeah, we want to compare Pythium to Agartha, I think.
Oh, gosh. Sorry, sneeze there. But yeah, I mean, I was expecting, because we saw it downtick here a little bit, maybe it pops back up, but I think mages are part of this army here, so.
But I do want to reiterate that Pythium is nowhere near where you'd expect a Pythium to be at this stage in the game.
Right.
Just because he hasn't taken advantage of his essentially national strength, as far as I'd put it, of having those 1 commander point 4 and recruit mages.
Yeah,
he has
I think that's the only
labs.
good thing about Pythium, just about. I mean, it's the only really remarkable thing about them. And the Foul Vapors Rush. It's that research bump you get.
Yeah, and then he has only 2 foreign labs, one of which was literally free from a site. So he only bought 1.
Yeah.
Like 1.
Yeah.
That's the only, and yeah, that's nowhere near enough for Pythium in my opinion. I think like you really want to try to take advantage of those foreign recruit mages, especially in the early game. Like there is a point in the game where it kind of peters out and you kind of do want more of the Renatai, but Pythium's nowhere near that point yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Though he has played very well with that point aside. He was very smart in his rating of Atlantis.
Oh yeah,
armies were scripted really well. So
his tactical maneuvering was great. I just think that the nation is best played with heavier reliance on those foreign recruit mages than this player is doing.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Coming down, what Marignon's doing. We'll look at Atlantis, Erytheia as well. Technically, Marignon is part of the anti-Atlantis alliance. Though really, he's just here for vulturing.
Yeah, he's grabbing free stuff, and why not?
Why not? Erytheia, moving on top of Atlantis' capital, and Atlantis wisely has nothing to say about it.
There was a thing about in the Second English Civil War where the line went, there was a battle fought across a river. One king crossed and the other king ran away, and afterwards the war was over. So in this war, we saw the two gods fought each other. One god died, the other god advanced, and the war was over.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that we actually had a god v god big showdown.
Yeah, it was pretty
or
cool.
god v god presence in the big showdown. Yeah, I appreciated that.
I didn't actually show it, but I remember looking in the battle afterwards. I think he did give an affliction to the Erytheian god, because he got one good coral sword swipe off on him. But
making his mark on his way out, you got to appreciate it.
You got to do something. Yeah. So yeah, this is done. It's going to be a hot second before this fort gets sieged through. Probably like 2 more turns, but it's over.
It does kind of suck that Erytheia's heat dominion is going to reduce the value of that fort, though. They're going to have a melted thing.
There is potentially a play. I wonder if Zabalba has a nap with Erytheia. Erytheia, especially if they don't have like really big mage commitments, is actually going to kind of struggle, I think, to deal with Zabalba at this phase in the game. Just when you're relying on mage power a lot, you really don't want to be majorly outnumbered in a fight and have a bunch of flyers land on top of your mages. You really want slow, heavy infantry like Atlantis to waddle across the field while you shoot them.
If I'm Shabalba, Erytheia is not my first target, though.
Yeah. But I'm just looking at where the troops are, right? Like, there's some major troops building up over here. And I mean, Zabalba, let's look at
those are blood hunting provinces.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it looks like that's where his troops are, but no, he just basically peeled out the troops that he had been setting up to like defend against Vedheim with into his blood hunting provinces for patrolling.
Wait, who's over here winning the armies? Oh, Gath is. That's right. Okay.
1 million slingers. And yeah. So for army quality purposes, for like bumps and stuff, the slingers are actually heavily overvalued, which is kind of funny.
Huh.
Kind of like how Moose Riders can bump stuff just because they're like big units with a ton of hit points. Because those guys are dual wielders with a ranged weapon, they actually count pretty highly for like army raiding purposes.
Oh, okay.
They're not as crazy as like Lemuria, which basically automatically wins every bump ever, but like, yeah, they're pretty good.
So this one looks like a blood hunting province. Well, there's no blood hunters here.
Is that a fort? Oh, no.
No.
Oh, that might have just been to catch the heretics. Like if you check the events.
Oh yeah, that could be why. There were heretics there, so. Okay, here we have some proper blood hunting, it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has a lab there.
Okay.
Yeah, and presumably at least some of those are researchers because that's a forest province. That's where they're recruited. But it definitely makes sense to also use those as your blood hunting provinces as long as you're not going to push the unrest over 100. Yeah, and he's not hunting the northern one because it's much higher population. So like the cost per slave is way higher in terms of like income loss.
Yeah, we got Shabalba he's doing some blood hunting.
Yeah, Shabalba is straight up playing SimCity right now.
Yeah.
And this is something that Fuluk can do very dangerously, because I had mentioned before I had played against him when he was playing Miquelin. He basically hit a point where he just had enough Ocelotls to smash whoever. And yeah, as Shabalba, a nation that in my opinion scales even better than Miquelin, being allowed to do this with like this very greedy Luck 3 scales build is pretty dangerous. So he's definitely going to come out into his next war with a massive pile of sacreds.
So he's got the hero that can summon bats, but what else does he doesn't? How is he going to get more Aussie summoners?
Just empowerment. You need to find fire mages and empower them in blood, preferably, or you need to Wayob get a fire random. Okay. So 1 out of 40 Wayob, I believe, can do summoning. But generally, you have to empower or find indies or LA Shivalba does not get masked Ocelotls very easily.
Right.
You actually eventually hit it by summoning Oniki, which can also summon them, but they're very expensive and they're also later in blood.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So we'll see what he ends up using the blood slaves for, whether it's for bats or there's murder kitties or something else. There's, of course, plenty of other good uses for blood slaves.
Yeah, my favorite for
Lifelong
Shivalba in
protections.
particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. You knew it.
We talked about
I
it.
mentioned it. Yeah. But I think that if that was what he was going for, we would have already seen them against Jomin.
Right.
And they're actually not items that you want sitting around because they apply Tainted.
Right. They're fine sitting around in your lab, but...
Yeah. If that's what you're going for and that's what you're going to be expending it on, then he should be killing someone with them right now, and he's not.
Right. So it's a little bit of a mystery to us. What's he going to spend the blood slaves on? So we'll have to stay tuned and find out. The other thing is those imps are going to be really nice against like Erytheia casters, especially before they get the army-wide buffs. They're, like the high value things, like if you were going to get demons, I was thinking for a second he might get like demon knights or something, right? Because that is something he has the paths to get. Those high value demons are going to kind of die to evocation just the same as everything else. So
what happens to a frog struck by lightning? Yeah, so
yeah,
I don't think that that's a good matchup at all, especially this phase in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it, though, now's the time. But yeah, I mean, Jomin's obviously the better target.
Jomin, or even like not coalition, but like having friends help you fight Arco.
Right. Yeah, that would probably be better. Wait, what's their border with Arco? Oh, yeah. Arco had one friend, though. I felt like it
was Gath, I believe.
It was Gath, okay.
But probably also Shivalba. Yeah.
Speaking of Gath, he's mobilizing his troops towards Marignon very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, he invested into all these slingers, so he's got to use them to fight someone.
Right. I mean, he could technically use them to patrol and just have a crazy blood economy, but I don't think he has the blood mages to get all the blood slaves these guys can patrol out.
Yeah, no, Gath has actual issues getting enough blood mages. They don't have patrol value issues because typically if you're doing a blood-focused build, because all of your mages require temples anyways, you just get the zealots. Yeah, you kind of circled that. Yeah, so the Levite zealots have a patrol bonus. So because you need the temple in order to get the blood mages to begin with, you also get your patrol troops out of that same fort. And you can basically keep up with your blood production as you're recruiting the mages, no problem.
Look what
we're getting some seer. Yeah.
Starting to see.
But he doesn't have a huge bless. And what I'm more interested in, honestly, is him getting Shadim, because he has the air mages to empower in blood, and when they're not summoning, they could also be supporting your blood hunting, right? Because your blood mages are so expensive, doing the blood empowering and using those guys to support your blood hunting doesn't feel that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start getting those Shadim out, then you're cooking, because those guys are extremely good.
Yeah.
It's basically storm demons that you summon 3 at a time. Like, you can't ask, and they're even better in terms of damage output than storm demons. So with this very light bless build, I wouldn't lean too heavily into the seer. I would go straight into the Shadim.
Okay. I mean, there's certain plays which do the Shadim don't have as good a shock resistance, if I recall.
I mean, they are non-sacred, if that's what you mean.
Well, yeah, but like compared to storm demons, so.
They have 15 shock resistance. That's good enough for most purposes. Yeah.
Okay, I thought they didn't. Okay, you're probably looking at it though.
Yes. Oh, no, they're both 15. Yeah, okay, but they both have storm power too. Yeah.
They have lower storm power. I think their damage when fully buffed in storms is for the lightning. I remember it being basically the same as the storm demon, but maybe their melee damage was more.
They have higher base strength.
Okay.
So
but lower storm power.
Right. So they do still deal more damage, but they deal less. Okay. More damage.
They're not ethereal then. Maybe that's what it was that I was thinking that storm demons have the edge on.
Yeah, so the advantages that storm demon have is ethereal.
Yeah.
And yeah, the storm demons have 1 more storm power, but it's not enough to make a huge difference because the Shadim have 3 more strength.
Yeah.
So the lightning shocks or the lightning shots that both they and the storm demons are doing, it does scale on strength.
Mm-hmm.
So they're even in storms, they're still doing 2 more damage a shot.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, hopefully we get to see that. But I mean, with the blessed, they say aren't going to be bad either. Do we get to see it here?
His bless is very light.
Let me remind myself what it is. I'll probably be reminding some of the viewers as well. No?
They're not blessing, they're only casting Word of Power.
There's no Astro Mages or
No.
no Holy Mages? Dang it. I remember it was mostly resistances with a few stats. But
yeah, it was mostly resist with a handful of stats.
Yeah.
And Seer are good, right? Like I don't want to knock Seer completely. They have 3 attacks per unit, so 6 attacks per square. They hit pretty hard. But generally when you're using Seer, it's because you've packed a nice blessed to make them like truly murder machines.
Yeah. Okay. Marignon, who's going to be the loving recipient of this attack between Pangea and Gath, they're getting little warning signs here that maybe these two players are looking at them.
Yeah, those are just scouts. You can't take scouts as a sign of aggression.
Innocent little scouts. That's what they always say.
Yeah, no. The sign of aggression is when you find 40 satyr in a province. Then you start asking questions.
Oh, did that happen? Oh no.
No. Yeah, no. Those were actually just.
I mean, he did patrol out literally 3 Pangean scouts this turn. That's a lot.
But again, those are scouts. Like I don't know. Like I scout all my neighbors.
Yeah. 1 scout isn't anything, but 3 scouts means something. But so Pangea took this fort this turn, and they had an army here. So this army has started the slow move back. Well, sort of slow move back towards Pangea and ergo Marignon. Oh, this is actually, it's really funny. They seduced the commander, and then
But they didn't.
He started routing 1 turn too fast. This 1 commander or 1 dude left.
Yeah, I mean, generally, if I am confident of my assassin expansion / seduction stuff, I'll just set him to attack. And if things go badly, the loss of the commander is usually not the biggest loss.
Yeah.
Are those gnomes? Oh yeah. Okay, so those are event gnomes. So those guys suck. They're very high upkeep units.
Yeah.
Instead of actual mages.
The only hilarious thing you can do with them is you can try to run them into an enemy. I mean, you can gift a reason them too, and they make decent mages. But you can also try to run them into an enemy commander, and they're, I think, one of the only units in the game with the slap attack.
Yeah, them and Vedi hags,
right.
I believe.
And try to shrink them permanently. It's a fun thing to do.
Generally, if you get them as Pangea, because you already have the pans, which kind of fulfill that same, you know, Earth nature role, you just want to throw them away as quickly as possible so you stop paying their upkeep.
Yep. Okay, so that's that. We've covered Erytheia. TNG... I think we've talked about them.
Yeah, they're just kind of securing their borders. Agartha is very not dead yet. They're, not in the back of a corpse wagon anymore.
Yep.
But they definitely haven't benefited from their war with Midgard because Midgard basically just destroyed all their armies and they didn't wind up getting very much extra territory out of it.
Yeah. There's not a lot that happened this turn, and pretty much all the first wars are over in the most consequential ways now. There's not really except for this Agartha thing, which is kind of hanging in limbo. Most everything has been kind of closed out. Midgard's gone. Atlantis is dead. Ulm is dead. Miquelin's dead.
Miquelin is dead. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, agreed. We'll have to see how the next set of wars shake out.
Yeah. So actually, we finally get, I think, our first quick episode. We're at 25 minutes here, and I think we're about done.
Yeah, and we'd already covered the research situation last episode, and we even briefly touched on it this episode when checking some of those spikes.
Yeah, we can look at gym income. Well, we haven't looked at that. I believe TNG is well ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because they actually focused on that early site searching just because they essentially had the luxury of doing so. Marignon's a little bit of a surprise because they're a nation that I would tend to think of as just desperately needing that research, but they must have hit their early goals.
Yeah.
So they felt comfortable, and then they went and did their searching. Vedheim, that's another nation that makes sense. They're a nation that's very comfortable, that's not under any threat, and that has the luxury, essentially, like TNG did, of actually searching their land. But TNG both has more provinces and has very good spread on their mages, so they can actually site search very effectively.
Yeah, Pangea's right up there as well.
Yeah, Pangea, Gath, it looks like, also doing pretty well. And Gath's another one that also makes sense that they would be able to site search pretty well because their mages in Drain 3 are probably not best spent researching. So anything that they're recruiting outside of those temple provinces, you may as well have them site search if they're not like actually being committed to battle.
Yeah, this bottom tier here, or not bottom, right? But these are like
Mid-tier,
of the
yeah.
strong position players. This is Pythium, Arco, and Erytheia. So
Yeah, these are nations that were researching early in Erytheia's case, or were committing all their mages to wars.
right. So cool. Tune in next time, and hopefully we'll be getting one turn closer to the next round of war starting. And thank you so much for joining me, Sai.
Absolutely. Thanks for hosting, as always.
All right. See you all next time. Take care.